It's again time for KinoCheck News. In the past few days, news about the leaked footage of the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, Beetlejuice 2, and a new character in James Gunn's Superman Legacy made headlines. In addition, the first trailer for Meg 2: The Trench with Jason Statham will delight fans of popcorn movies. And last but not least, the writer's strike in Hollywood is still keeping the film and series world in suspense. Some very popular projects have now been put on hold. Bigger Meg. The new trailer for Meg 2: The Trench has taken the internet by storm and raised anticipation to a new level. The trailer promises a more than entertaining film that is in no way inferior to its predecessor. When Meg hit theaters in 2018, no one expected the film to become such a hit. It's about a team of explorers fighting the biggest shark of all time, the Megalodon. The film was directed by John Turteltaub and featured Jason Statham in the lead role. Thus, the first images of the sequel, Meg 2, which is this time directed by Ben Wheatley, were awaited with great excitement. On Monday, the first trailer was finally released worldwide. It starts off in an unusual manner, set 65 million years in the past. True to the motto, "There's always a bigger fish," various prehistoric creatures eat each other until finally a huge T-Rex is devoured by the Megalodon. No doubt an announcement with a wink towards the Jurassic World franchise. Then there's a time jump. Jason Statham must get back to work. His character is asked for help as there is unusual activity deep in the sea, and whatever is down there, it wants to come to the surface. A first excursion in mechanical diving suits directly leads to a disaster. Needless to say, there are huge monsters lurking in the depths, and of course, they are now making their way to civilization. Lizard creatures are attacked with shovels, helicopters are pulled into the sea by giant octopuses, and several victims are eaten by a whole swarm of Megs. Meanwhile, Jason Statham fights a Megalodon on a jet ski with a sword. Meg 2 obviously aims to be a true popcorn movie, and fans are thrilled, even though some complain that the whole project is going down too much of a trash route. Another box office success seems to be as good as certain, however. Whether Meg 2: The Trench can compete with its predecessor is something we'll see in theaters starting August 4th, 2023. The Superman matter was certainly one of the most discussed points at the refounding of DC Studios at the end of 2022. After much initially indicated that Henry Cavill would return to his iconic role as Clark Kent, the decision was ultimately made not to continue the movie series with Cavill. However, it became clear quite quickly that this by no means a farewell to the character, because we can look forward to Superman Legacy, directed by James Gunn himself. Rumors recently circulated that a somewhat unusual character will celebrate his DC live-action movie debut in it. The talk is of Krypto, Superman's four-legged friend. As Chris Pratt and James Gunn confirmed in an interview with the Toronto Sun, the Superdog, who made his debut in the Adventure comics in 1955, will feature in Superman Legacy. The two seemed to be in a good mood and joked about how Pratt could then be paid in cryptocurrency. So, by all indications, the appearance of Krypto is not only a rumor. Despite the humorous interview, the two confirmed that it was indeed an exclusive announcement. Krypto previously appeared, for example, in DC League of Super Pets, or in the animated series Krypto the Superdog from the 2000s, and like his master, possesses superpowers. He also comes from the planet Krypton and can, for instance, fire heat rays from his eyes, and has an intelligence similar to that of a human being. As seen in DC League of Super Pets, he can even absorb solar energy and attack his opponents with a solar-powered paw strike. We can thus look forward to some funny moments with Krypto. The reactions so far have been very positive. Many are looking forward to Krypto's live-action debut and the resulting alignment with the comics, where he has played a much bigger role up to now. Who wouldn't want to see Superman's laser beam shooting pet in action in a live-action film? Superman Legacy is set to arrive in theaters on July 11, 2025. The hype surrounding the upcoming film adaptation of the video game Five Nights at Freddy's is huge. Since the release of the first part in 2014, a huge fanbase has formed, which will probably make up a large part of the future moviegoers. After a leak about the still work-in-progress movie made the rounds last week, game creator Scott Cawthon expressed great frustration regarding the circumstances, but he was pleasantly surprised by a number of fans. Last weekend, an unknown user published a very early version of the trailer for the Five Nights at Freddy's movie on Twitter. Not only was the footage obviously taken from the midst of the production process and therefore not intended for the public, but it was also filmed from a cell phone in poor quality. All this contributed to creating a bad impression of the project. The creator of the game series, Scott Cawthon, initially tried to ignore the numerous reports on various news portals and social media, but then couldn't help but comment on the unfortunate leak. On Reddit, Cawthon expressed his utter dejection and disappointment over the fact that the first visual impression of the project was so negative. After all, he and his team had worked very hard to create something exciting. Nevertheless, he was pleased to see that many fans took to YouTube and Twitter to speak out against the leak and united in support of the project. Many didn't watch the leaked video, while others refrained from showing it in their coverage, and thus contributed to the fact that probably only a small part of the Five Nights at Freddy's fan community ruined their first impression. We are excited to learn when the finished trailer will officially come out and look forward to the theatrical release on October 27, 2023. The horror comedy Beetlejuice hit the big screen almost 35 years ago. Among fans, the project is one of the absolute classics of the 1980s. As it was revealed this week, there is some new information about a sequel. The film could follow in the footsteps of Ghostbusters Afterlife, which likewise offered an excellent mix of 80s nostalgia with old and new actors, as well as modern elements. With the announcement that Batman actor Michael Keaton will in fact return once again to the role of the eponymous Ghost, it seems they want to pick up both old and new audiences. When asked by some fans whether Keaton, at 71, was not too old for the role, film composer Danny Elfman humorously replied that the makeup already made Beetlejuice look as if he were 150 years old in the first part. Accordingly, Keaton's return would not be an issue. Stranger Things star Winona Ryder is also back and will once again play the part of Lydia Dietz. The role of her daughter will also be cast prominently, with Wednesday actress Jenna Ortega taking on the role. Justin Paul Theroux, who last played a part in the horror flick False Positive in 2021, is also set to take on an undisclosed role. The shooting of Beetlejuice 2 is already starting this week under the resumed direction of horror icon Tim Burton in London. Burton also has the support of his favorite composer Danny Elfman, who was already involved in Part 1. The planned US release is scheduled for September 6, 2024, according to Deadline. We'll keep you posted on any further updates. The large-scale strike of the Writers Guild of America began on May 2, 2023. The union represents many writers in the US film and TV industry, which is why the effects of the current strike are being felt in many ways. We will now inform you about the current state of affairs in the impacted films and series. In addition to demands from authors for higher wages as well as better job security, the so-called writer's room is to be given more freedom. This is the place where authors write the scripts and are creative. While this used to actually be a physical location controlled by the showrunner, the creative process in today's screenwriting often takes place in the home office. Film studios ought to hire more writers and thus facilitate the creative process. At present, too few writers are being hired for a project, who are then constantly overworked. A further demand of the WGA concerns the use of artificial intelligence in the creation of scripts. Many fear that in a few years, the technology will be so advanced that it will lead to a rapidly dwindling need for human writers, which would make many authors unemployed within a very short time. So there's a lot at stake for the striking writers, who have been in negotiations with the producers about future working conditions since mid-March. So far, there has been a lot of support from the actors, with many showing solidarity with the strikers. Moreover, some actors are affected by the repercussions themselves, which is why they are also likely to have a great interest in seeing the strike brought to an end as quickly as possible. The concrete impact on series and films has been severe so far. One of the most prominent examples is Season 5 of Stranger Things, which cannot be shot as planned, meaning that the show's launch will be postponed. Blade, with Green Book star Mahershala Ali, will also likely be unable to begin filming next month as scheduled, which means even the MCU is officially hit by the strike. Additionally, Game of Thrones author George R.R. Martin commented on the upcoming spin-off, A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, The Hedge Knight, in a blog post. Martin explained that the project will have to be put on hold for the time being. However, he added that the filming of the second season of House of the Dragon is not affected and will continue. Other projects concerned, and thus on hiatus, are Cobra Kai Season 6, Yellow Jackets Season 3, Big Mouth Season 8, and Lord of the Rings: The Rings of Power Season 2. Also halted are productions of The Handmaid's Tale, HBO's Hacks, and Abbott Elementary. Various talk shows and late-night formats were also among the quickest to be adversely affected. Since the strike began, Saturday Night Live has been playing only reruns, and there's been none of the usual nonchalance on Jimmy Kimmel Live or The Late Show with Stephen Colbert either. In the last show before the strike, Colbert already talked about the negotiations between the WGA and the AMPTP, and expressed his solidarity with the writers, without whom the show would not be as successful as it is today. At present, it is not apparent when the parties will reach an agreement. The strikers' concerns have at least made it to the Oval Office so far, since on Monday, US President Joe Biden also commented on the current events and hoped that the authors would emerge from the talks with a fair deal. As you can see, the situation is anything but pleasant for all parties involved, and it can only be hoped that the authors will quickly come to an understanding with the producers. Otherwise, it's safe to assume that even more movies and series will be among those affected. We will keep you up to date on further developments. That was the news for this week. Don't forget to check out the new trailers, such as Oppenheimer, here on our channel. We also have an original episode on Gladiator 2 for all fans of historical films. Other than that, we hope you enjoyed this week's news. Feel free to give the video a thumbs up. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.